This Soyuz MS-10 spacecraft is scheduled to dock to the orbiting complex later today. 4 orbits after today's launch. That's planned for 9:44 a.m. Central Time, and this is a one-day rendezvous that will culminate in that same-day docking for the first time in about a year. Once it does arrive, Russian and American dignitaries, as well as guests and family members, will be watching the events unfold from a hotel not far from the launch site in Kazakhstan, offering them the chance to speak with Nick Hague and Alexei Ovchinin once they have arrived at the space station. Still continuing to see a live view of the Soyuz MS-10 on its launch pad in Baikonur, Kazakhstan, where Nick Hague and Alexei Ovchinin are waiting for launch, now just 12 minutes and 41 seconds away. The whole Soyuz spacecraft is 23.5 feet long and weighs 15,650 pounds. It's comprised of 3 modules. The descent module, situated in the middle of the Soyuz vehicle, contains customized seats, as you can see in this video, for the crew members to use during launch, entry, and landing. It also contains all the controls and displays necessary for the flight, as well as life support systems, batteries for the re-entry and landing, and the parachutes and soft landing rocket engines that slow the Soyuz just before touchdown when it lands in Kazakhstan. There are 8 hydrogen peroxide thrusters located on that module that are used to control the spacecraft's orientation or attitude during the descent until parachute deployment. And it also has guidance, navigation, and control system to maneuver the vehicle during the descent phase of the mission. The descent module weighs 6,393 pounds with a habitable volume of 141 cubic feet. And approximately 110 pounds of cargo can be returned to Earth in this module. The descent module is the only portion of the Soyuz that survives the return to Earth. Through a hatch, you can now see the orbital module, which is at the top of the Soyuz, connects to the descent module via that pressurized hatch. It's where the crew has a small amount of room to move around during the flight to the station. It has a volume of 230 cubic feet with a docking mechanism, hatch, and rendezvous antennas located at the front end. The docking mechanism is used to dock to the space station, and the hatch allows entry into the orbiting complex. The rendezvous antennas are used by the automated docking system, which uses radar, to maneuver toward the space station for docking. There's also a forward-looking window in the module that the crew can use to take manual measurements of distance and closing speed with a laser rangefinder in the event of a failure with a rendezvous radar system. The propulsion module houses the oxygen storage tanks, the main engine, and the attitude control thrusters, avionics, and communications and control equipment. The propulsion portion of this module handles all orbital maneuvers, including those needed for the rendezvous with the space station and the deorbit burn at the end of the spacecraft's mission.
5 minutes readiness.
Before they are deployed, the 2 solar arrays that are included on the space station, or on the Soyuz vehicle, are folded up against the body of the propulsion module, which then separates from the descent module after the deorbit burn, along with the orbital module. Solar panels span almost 35 feet. The entire spacecraft serves not only as a crew transport vehicle to and from the space station, but also as an emergency return vehicle in the event of the crew needing to leave the space station unexpectedly.
Ready. We are watching you. We are seeing you on camera number 1.
A group of NASA representatives is there in Baikonur, just a short distance away from the launch pad. And for an update on the activities there, we're going to go now to NASA Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius.
Brandy, it's a mild afternoon here in the Central Asian desert as a new crew prepares to begin a 6-hour journey to the International Space Station for the start of a 6-month mission. Just 1 week after a trio of space station residents landed northeast of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, 2 new residents are poised to replace them. U.S. and Russian space officials and a large gathering of family and friends are here at the Cosmodrome for this launch, which has a senior management flavor. NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine is here for the first time, taking in a SOYUZ launch after a tour of the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Russia, earlier in the week. Bridenstine and Roscosmos head Dmitry Rogozin have met face-to-face, expressing support for continuing international cooperation in space. After launch, we'll stay put here in Baikonur to monitor the 4-orbit fast-track rendezvous and docking some 6 hours from now, and a couple of hours after that, the hatch opening and the welcoming ceremony between the arriving crew and the trio on board the complex. Today's launch comes less than 6 weeks before the 20th anniversary of the launching of the Zarya module atop a Proton rocket just a few miles from this SOYUZ launch site of the Cosmodrome, a milestone in human spaceflight history that marked the birth of the International Space Station. That's it from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Now back to you at Mission Control in Houston.
Thanks, Rob. Now back with a live view inside the SOYUZ capsule where the crew on board is readying in the final minutes of their time on Earth before launch today at 3:40 a.m. Central Time, just 7 minutes away now. You can see here Nick Hague at the top of the screen and Alexei Ovchinin at the bottom. At this point in the countdown, 7 minutes away from launch, the pre-launch operations are complete and the SOYUZ first and second stage engines are ready for launch. Also, telemetry has been received from the rocket indicating that all primary and backup systems are ready for launch. At the time of launch, again, which is coming up at 3:40 a.m. Central Time, the space station is going to be over northeast Kazakhstan near the Russian border, moving from southwest to northeast, with an altitude of about 254 miles above the Earth. It will be about 948 miles in front of the SOYUZ.
Like this is launch lead.
Launch is precisely timed for the moment when the Earth's rotation will place the Baikonur Cosmodrome in the plane of the orbit of the International Space Station.
Control is on board, and I will provide the report of the launch. This is Burlak 1. I copy. We are ready for launch.
Now under 6 minutes away from launch. At this point, the launch key has been inserted in the launch bunker, and it is a real key. It transitions the launch from sequence into automatic mode.
Launch key inserted.
That's okay.
Now less than 5 minutes away from today's launch. At this point, onboard systems will be switched to onboard control, and the commander's cockpit displays and controls will be activated. Crew members are closing their helmets now and putting their suit, which will put their suits on oxygen.
Run 1 command. Ground measurement system is activated. Combustion chamber nitrogen purge.
Fuel lines and other elements of the rocket engines are purged with nitrogen to fireproof them by removing vapors of fuel and oxidizer. Now T-minus 3 minutes and 55 seconds.
This is Burlak 1. I copy loud and clear. It's great. Copy.
Getting okay signs and thumbs up from the crew on board this Soyuz there. Nick Hague and Alexei Ovchinin now 3.5 minutes away from today's launch. This will be the first time for Nick Hague to visit the International Space Station and the second for Alexei Ovchinin.
Run 2 command. On board measurement system is activated. Ground filling oxidizer nitrogen is terminated.
Я Бурлак 1, 3 минуты до контакта подъема.
This is Burlak 1, 3 minutes before the liftoff. Everything is well on board. We are feeling well. Thank you. Copy.
2 minutes and 45 seconds away from launch. The booster tank will be pressurized for flight. This optimizes the flow of fuel and helps add structural support to the rocket.
Booster propellant tank pressurization initiated.
And that call indicating that the pressurization has started for the booster tank. Again, optimizing the flow of fuel. One minute and 15 seconds now into launch. The ground propellant feed has now been terminated.
Yes, it's better now, guys. Thank you.
And now just 1 minute to go. Soyuz now on internal power. We may see just a minute or so of in-cabin views, but then we'll switch to external views of the Soyuz during today's flight.
Vehicle to internal power.
First umbilical tower there separating from the booster. 30 seconds now until launch. Ground umbilical to the third stage has been disconnected, and in just a moment the second umbilical tower will separate.
Power on board.
There's the second tower.
Command for ignition, oxygen.
Launch command has been issued. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Engine turbo pump at flight speed. Engines at maximum thrust. Lift off.
And there is liftoff of the Soyuz MS-10 to the International Space Station, carrying Nick Hague and Alexei Ovchinin to the orbital complex. This again is Nick Hague's first time to launch to space, and Alexei Ovchinin's second.
One copy. Everything is good on board, and we are feeling well. Copy. Burlak 1.
Hearing good first stage performance for the Soyuz, delivering 930,000 pounds of thrust from its 4 boosters and single engine. Again, the first stage of the SOYUZ measures 68 feet in length and 24 feet in diameter. It's burning liquid fuel for the first 2 minutes and 6 seconds of flight.
Seconds. 60 seconds into the flight. The pressure in the chamber is nominal. Burlak 1, copy. Everything is well on board. They're feeling well. Thank you. Copy.
Everything proceeding as intended for today's flight. Now just a little over a minute into it. The velocity of the SOYUZ is about 1,100 miles per hour. View here of the crew inside the SOYUZ now making their way to the International Space Station. Nick Hague there at the top of the screen and Alexei Ovchinin at the bottom.
Burlak 1, copy. Everything is well on board. The crew is feeling well. Copy.
View here of the SOYUZ making its way into space. Everything looking good. Proceeding nominally.
Inaudible.
And we have the escape tower for the SOYUZ now jettisoned. Everything continuing nominally. The 4 strap-on boosters have been jettisoned and they've completed their job, dropped away at an altitude of 28 statute miles. SOYUZ traveling about 3,350 miles an hour.
Авария носителя, да?
Is it
2 минуты 45 секунд.
emergency booster 2 minutes 45 seconds? The emergency, the failure of the booster.
Авария носителя.
Failure of the booster.
Есть БС. СПС.
BS, yes, BS.
Разделение.
Separation.
Питание рук включаю. Да?
Enable power.
Так.
190 seconds into the flight, SOYUZ traveling about 4,700 miles per hour.
Don't be in a hurry. Buрлаки, copy.
По ощущениям находимся в невесомости.
We are in weightlessness, according to our sensations.
Так. Сейчас один момент. Да, точно.
Stand by.
Да, Ник. Да, выбери.
Бурлаки, АСП F1 горит у вас?
Buрлаки, do you have F1 illuminated?
Аварий. 11:42.
11:42:17. Failure. 11:42:17 is the time of the failure. F1 on SP is illuminated. Copy.
Так, головной обтекатель сосуд у нас.
The shroud is separated. The crew is feeling well. Everything is well on board. We have routes in our hands and the power is on. Copy.
Какие будут рекомендации?
So what are the recommendations of the ground?
Да, прошло. Разделение прошло.
What about the separation? Did the separation go through? Yes, it did. 11:42:55. Buрлаки, did you deactivate Rus power? No. Did you activate the Rus power? Yes, the Rus power is on. ON. Now, please send BS command. Ballistic descent command is sent from Rus controller. Copy. 11:45:30. BS has been sent. We have the indicator illuminated.
Пошла перегрузка. Да.
The overload has started. Yes, we are getting ready for the deload.
Время 11.
Time 12:46. G-load is 6.7.
Принято.
Copy.
Визуально. Ощущается вращение.
We feeling rotation. The G-load is going down. 1846.20. G-load is 272 and going down.
Принято.
Copy, Buрлаки.
Подтягиваем ремни.
So tighten the straps in work.
Hearing there that there has been an issue with the booster, and we're standing by for information as we continue to get it from the Russian flight control team, but everything seems to be fine with the crew. We had good comm with them, and they are okay. We continue to wait for more information.
Launch lead.
Работаем по 32 странице.
Let's go to page 32. 32.
Бурлаки смотрите.
Buрлаки, launch lead.
Бурлаки смотрите.
Buрлаки, launch lead.
Team here in Mission Control is working with their counterparts in Russia, getting more information on the issue with the booster that has changed today's launch plan. Getting more information, which we'll provide as soon as we have a little bit more. But you're seeing a live view of the control team working here, led by Flight Director Mary Lawrence.
Бурлаки смотрите.
Buрлаки, launch lead. Buрлаки, launch lead. Buрлаки, launch lead.
Бурлаки 16 смотреть.
Бурлаки launch lead.
Continuing to see here a live view from the Mission Control Center here in Houston, where the team was following along with today's SOYUZ MS-10 launch. That launch did have a problem with the booster a few seconds after the first stage separation. And we can confirm now that the crew has started to go into the ballistic descent mode. They'll be going in on a sharp landing today. I think it'll be coming up fairly shortly. And we're continuing to get more information from our counterparts at the Roscosmos Space Agency as we learn more about today's activities and what to expect next as the crew does go through this ballistic descent mode.